you can actually make new plants out of the existing plant at home itself and not need to go to the store to buy new of the same kind that you have. So the question to ask is, where is the bud? Because bud is what would make the plant to grow new shoots and new roots. So when you look at a seed, so let me open up the seed. Okay, so this is the seed cover, seed coat, and then the cotyledons. And if you look closer, you can see the bud. You can see the tiny leaf. Okay, let's put it upside down. Tiny leaf and the tiny bit of root. That is what is going to grow into a new plant. So this is a cutting that I got, a piece of a branch of a plant that I got from my front yard. So looking at this, where is the bud? If you look closer at the base of the leaf, you would see a bulged portion right here, a bulged portion, which is where the node is, and the node is where the bud is located. It's capable of growing into a branch, and of course when it is attached to the tree. But when you stick this piece, the twig, into the soil, it is capable of growing a new shoot, and of course the base would start to grow new roots, and now you have an independent plant. So look for the bud of the plant to help you grow a new plant. So this is a coleus plant that actually I had last year this time. I got it from the store and I grew it outdoors, having a plant outdoors, a coleus plant. And then what I did, I took a cutting from this plant and put it in the soil. And that's what I'm going to do again this year. So again, I look for the bud. So this is the leaf, and the leaf is attached to the stem portion, okay? And then when the stem portion where the leaf is attached, there is a bud. It has started to grow already, okay? This is capable of becoming a branch, or if I cut this and put it in soil, it will start to grow into a new plant of its own. So when I make a cutting, I usually cut off a few leaves, okay? The lower leaves gets cut off. This is ready to go into the soil. When I plant it, I make a hole in the soil and then stick this in. So this is ready for growing into a new plant. Actually, this could be used for more. If I have many pots, I can put it in other pots. I can cut more branches off of it and make a hedge with coleus or a low border with coleus. So I can make multiple copies of the same plant using this method from one single plant that I grew from last year. Some plants have organs that are unique, like elephant ear plants, or bulbs in the case of onions or daffodils or some flowering plants. So these have unique storage structures that has buds on them that is capable of growing into a new plant. You can see here there is one big shoot that is coming off of the storage structure, the corm, and then you have roots, tiny roots that are starting to come. This would establish as a new plant of its own that has come from the mother plant. In this case, I planted one shallot in spring, and now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shallots that are attached at the base from one mother plant. So in the fall, I'm going to detach one bulb and plant it in the ground, and this will become more than one shallot bulbs, which I'll be using it as produce. Of course, this also can be used as produce. So this is one way of making new plantlets from one mother plant. This plant is Fittonia, and it is a beautiful plant, perfect for terrariums. All I got is one plant from the store, and now I used the method of cuttings to propagate new plants. Whenever I prune it, I just cut it off and stick it in the soil, and as you can see, lots of roots and lots of beautiful leaves, and it sits inside a terrarium with the plastic wrap over the top, and makes it an entity of its own. No need for watering, and it looks beautiful. I have a whole bunch of succulents in this pot. The succulents are those plants which have thick leaves, thick fleshy leaves. And one good thing about these succulents is that they can be grown, new plants can be grown from the mother plant by using leaves. So just take a leaf and then put it in soil. It'll start to grow new plants at the very tip. I don't know if you can see the tiny roots that have started to grow, and these ones have already grown. This is the leaf, and the roots have grown, and tiny little shoots have come up, and they will make a plant of its own, individual plants. This is another succulent that is starting to grow plantlets, at the very tip. Same thing with this plant. You could go for a cutting, or you could take a leaf off. Make sure the entire leaf is taken apart, not like cut right here or anything. You want to make sure that the entire leaf comes off of the stem, and that's what you would use to make a new plant. You put it in the soil. That's all you need. Some plants which do not have soft stems, like the jasmine, you can see these stems are, this is the new shoot this year, and then this is the shoot from last year, and it's brown and pretty hard and tough. And this plant would have difficulty rooting because of its nature, the hard stems. And such plants actually would benefit from using rooting hormone that you get from the store, garden centers and nursery stores, which is a hormone that is in powder form that you dip. You cut the piece and then dip it in a rooting hormone, and dip it in water so it gets a little sticky, and then dip it in rooting hormone so the powder sticks to it, and then you put it in the soil, and same mechanism, it will start to grow into a new plant with its own roots and its own shoots. Once we have planted the plants in the soil, it's ready to go into a humid chamber. So this would, I'm going to cover this up, and the soil is already wet, and that's all I need for having a humid condition for the plant to start growing. I placed the container with the plants inside this bucket. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a container to hold the plants inside, as tall for the plants to be inside, and then put plastic wrap over it. And here you go, the moist chamber or humid chamber is ready, and we'll wait for it to start growing. So the coleus plants that we planted, the cuttings that we planted are fine. They haven't dried out. That means they are still alive and probably making roots under the soil. And the buds that used to be smaller are starting to grow, and the leaves are growing bigger, and the branches are getting bigger, and so we know that they are alive.